Well, the new redshirt rule could quietly change Mississippi State's future.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, welcome in. This is the Locked On Mississippi State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm Jaron, Spor, nearly a decade in journalism and a national college football writer with Athlon Sports, joined by my co-host, Landon McBride, a longtime journalist and college sports fanatic. This is your daily home for all things Mississippi State. Today, we're breaking down the new redshirt rule and what it means for Mississippi State. Then we'll talk about Jahron Manning deciding to go pro before wrapping things up with a preview of what's coming up this weekend in Starkville across Mississippi State athletics. To our everydayers, stick around at the end. We'll talk about how we can make your experience even better. Also, we're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter with daily videos, so make sure you like and subscribe over there as well. All right, so one of the big topics the last few days has been this new redshirt rule for college football. And basically what it's going to do is, and it's not been passed yet, it's still like in the process of getting passed, but it's been approved by the coaches and things like that. What it will do is make the redshirt rule 9 games instead of 4 games like it is right now. So right now it's 4 games, you play 4. As long as you're under that 4, you can redshirt, 4 or less. Now they want to make it 9, so 9 or less. My kind of thoughts on it is like, if we're doing that, why are we not just doing the 5-year thing that we've talked about many times already? Like, why are we doing the 9? At that point, you're doing a whole season basically. Like, just do the whole 5 years and move on.
Well, I think the reason for that is, like I've said before, the NCAA is going to NCAA.
Right.
Play 4 seasons in 5 years was too simple. So we have to shrink it to where 1 year you can play 9 games, which I understood the 4-game rule because that's like, oh, you can kind of get some guys some experience, or maybe you can see if this guy's got it or not, put him in a red shirt. It still gives you a thing. Like if someone gets hurt in the first game, you can just use a red shirt thing. 9 games. I mean, we could see people manipulate this like crazy. I mean, not as much anymore with the not going to the 9 conference games, but before, when you had the FCS team in the middle of the year, I mean, you could bench your entire starting roster essentially and use that as one of the games that they don't play and redshirt a starting roster, and you manipulate it enough. So I do think it should be increased from 4 games, but 9 is just 9's too much.
Yeah, I mean, and it because that's a whole conference slate for most. Some teams do 8, but others do 9.
Entire season.
Yeah, I mean, and then also it's not just 9, because I'm assuming the end of the season will not count against you still. So now you're looking at 10 games at least, maybe 11, 12, 13, 14 games, depending on how far a team goes. And I'm a proponent of the 5-season rule. I kind of like it. I was kind of against that first. Yeah, it just made sense though. It was like, hey, you get 5 years. If you don't play, so be it. Like, you can't now apply for another year. Now, I believe it's like there's some acceptances, like if you get injured or something like that. But outside of that, it's not like, well, I played 4 games here, or if you played 5 seasons, you played 5 seasons. And I like that. I kind of like that because it takes out a lot of the NCAA rulings that have been going on that just don't make sense. That you'll hear one time they approve something and then the next time they don't approve it. We saw that with Trinidad, Campbell's. Diego got approved, Trinidad didn't. It's just weird stuff. It takes that away because it's just, hey, do you play 5 games? Were you ever injured? And it's got to be, and I believe the injury has to be like, you were on the injury reports, you were said, it wasn't like, oh, he's questionable every single week.
Right.
Like, no, you have to be like ruled out for the year kind of thing. The issue with that, though, with the 5 game is now you don't have a kind of a buffer, because even with the injury thing, there was still like, oh, you had to play 4 games or less. Then the injuries, you get that extra year. So they'll have to figure out that. Like maybe it's half the season. If you played half the season, then you're out, or something. You don't get that extra year. They got to figure out something like that. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense to do the 9 if you're not just going to do the 5 years.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And like you said, this hasn't fully passed yet. Like,
Right.
but the crazy thing is
the coaches have recommended.
The head coaches voted unanimously. So it's not like it passed a majority, it squeaked by, or even a large majority. It was a unanimous thing that this would happen. And so now it's going to the committees. If it's going to when something passes like that, you think if it doesn't get implemented this year, it's going to be soon. I think that kind of support, if it's not an immediate thing, it's going to be very soon. Outside of just how weird it is that they basically shot down this exact proposal a month ago, pretty much, to do this, looking at how this could change players' eligibility. Because, are they going to, I would assume this would retroactively apply in a sense. Like if I played, like, for instance, Anthony Evans, he played 8 games his first year at Georgia.
Right.
He'll be able to now apply to get a red shirt applied to that year to where he could play, what would it be, 2 more years?
Yeah.
State. So it'll be interesting to see if they retroactively apply it and how that could then possibly change, college football for the next 4 years.
And I think they'd have to, because how would you police that unless you were like, well, can't be you have to be in the 26 recruiting class,
or at least like a freshman this last year or something. Like,
yeah, I just don't know how you would police it otherwise. It's just in my opinion, I wonder if the reason why the coaches approved it unanimously is because the 5-year rule really hasn't gained a ton of traction. It's still in the works and in the process. And maybe they're like, hey, this is better than the 4, so let's just go all in on this. And if they eventually get us the 5 years, obviously that's what we want more than anything. But until then, we just got to go with what we got. and maybe that's why they're all on board with it. Plus, I think another reason why coaches are on board with it is because it makes a lot of sense for coaches. It makes their job easier. They don't have to manage it as much if it's 9 games. 4 games, you got to really work and manage it because you got to pick the right 4 games. And then also you get kind of screwed in terms of, there's a game that you think you're going to be out and a player gets hurt and you got to play. And now, stuff like that. You mentioned Anthony Evans. One instance that I was thinking about because I listened to him talk about this at Auburn was a guy like Jackson Arnold. He played 5 games as a freshman because Dylan Gabriel got hurt in a game. The plan was to play him 4, redshirt him. Gabriel got hurt in a game. He got thrown in. That gave him his 5th game. If this goes into effect, instead of this being his last year, he could have another year. And that would help, obviously, I think, benefit him. Yeah. Because the track that he's doing right now of going to UNLV is the track that he should have did last year. Mm-hmm. And then if he plays well, then you can move up to an Auburn-type school. So it's going to be interesting all across the country what happens. But it also it kind of hurts the high school kids again because this benefits the kids that are already in college, and because of that, it's going to retroactively hurt the high school kids.
Yeah, and then one hypothetical is if this rule was in place last year, how different does Lebby manage Camario's games? Because I think it was 1 game during the season he didn't play. And some of those games he was in for 2 plays. Do you hold him out for those 2 plays and maybe like 2 more games to keep that red shirt? It's not going to really, it's not going to change the season, but you preserve that red shirt that way. I think that we're going to see a lot of kind of gamesmanship from guys pulling guys out that have sub packages for a game or 2 to preserve a red shirt if this does go through.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about Jahron Manning. He was the defensive MVP, in my opinion, this past season. Well, he's announced his intention to go pro. He was a guy, if you remember, was trying to file for that extra year. I'm assuming things didn't go well, and that's why he declared, but it could have been another thing. We'll talk about all that coming up next. Well, the college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. Ride with a favorite when you think a team controls the matchup. Take a shot on the underdog if you feel an upset coming. or build a parlay around the players and moments you think decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playing off football. FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. Access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Mississippi State, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. Go to the URL in the show notes to learn more. Landon and I wanted to kind of dive into this a little bit more before we get to the Jahron Manning stuff, because this is a newer thing that our company has rolled out. And so there's a lot of people that, just not sure what all it will provide. And, some of the other stations have had success with it. Some of the other ones are kind of, struggling with it as well. I understand, like, there's a lot of people that are like, hey, why do we need to pay that money? Yeah. Well, one thing that I will say is, first off, it's $5, so it's very cheap. Yep. But secondly, that Discord server is going to be for us Mississippi State fans.
Yep.
We'll have other teams coming in and, causing a ruckus.
Yeah.
It'll be us. Also, that's where we're going to kind of talk about rumors that we've heard. Because on the show, rumors we don't talk about as much. We talk about when those rumors become true, or if it's just a crazy rumor, then we might talk about it.
When they start gaining some steam as opposed to just randomly heard.
Right. So we will talk about more rumors in there that, hey, keep an eye on this. We're hearing this. Oh, we've seen this kind of thing. That comes with recruiting. That comes with transfer portal. That comes with just season stuff, coaches firing. That's a space where we can just, almost like it's our couch after a bad loss or something, where we can sit down and vent for a little bit.
Exactly.
That's going to be part of it. Chit chatting during games is going to be part of it. But yeah, anything else you want to add about that?
No, I mean, it'd be a great place just to hang out and talk. I mean, y'all are great at commenting on our videos. Some of that could be in the Discord. I mean, y'all want to come in, we can talk. We'll might see it quicker than we would on a comment, a little more back and forth than it is that way. And be great to hear some of y'all's thoughts on games too. I mean, y'all come in here, talk to us. I mean, it'll let us know more what y'all are thinking, what y'all want to hear us talk about more.
Yeah, that's a big one too. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, to give us ideas of stuff you want us to talk about. Because the one thing is, like, yes, the YouTube and the YouTube comments are great, and keep flooding those, and we try to check those as much as possible. The issue is, at least I never get notifications when I get a deal. I have to go to YouTube and then check the comments. Whereas Discord, I get notifications. So if you're in the Discord and you post them, boom, I see it and I can respond immediately. Exactly. So it'll be quicker responses as well. TikTok's the same way. We get a lot of comments on TikTok. I just don't ever get notified that there's a comment on there.
And I can't get on TikTok because I work for a government and I'm not allowed.
That's true. That's true. And so unless I actually go to TikTok, I never can see the comments. So this is a way for us to be able to interact more frequently than just the YouTube comments.
And right now, it's just you and me in there, and we don't need to talk to each other in there.
That's true. We text enough. But all right, let's dive into Jahron Manning. He was outstanding this year. 91 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss. He had 1 interception, transferred in from Old Dominion, actually led the team in tackles this season. And he was, I believe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. He was 5th on the team in tackles for loss.
That's not good. Right. Sorry. That's great for him. That's bad for the defense.
It is, absolutely. And then he was 3rd on the team with the interceptions. His pass deflections, he had 5. He was 2nd on the team in that, behind Kelly Jones. Yeah. So he had an outstanding year, but he announced that he was going pro. And I kind of alluded to this coming into the break. Well, something where he's still waiting to hear back from the NCAA, because unless you've seen it, I've not seen an official ruling out there. I haven't seen him officially declare.
Yeah, I haven't seen any official ruling, nothing come down even from, the school or anything. So I have a feeling it might have been one of those things where the official ruling may not be out yet, but he kind of got told this is probably not going to go your way.
Yeah.
And he may have gotten good feedback from scouts too.
Yeah.
Like, he may have come in and kind of been told, you may be in the range to be a day 2 pick. And if you're on the fence about, you know, some of these bowl games like the Senior Bowl or East West Shrine Bowl, something like that, maybe you have a shot at being an invite. You need to get your name out there and maybe help your draft stock and solidify yourself as a higher draft pick. So I bet it was one of those things where he kind of heard it wasn't going to go his way, or there was a good chance it wasn't going to. And so he went ahead and jumped on the chance to try to improve his draft stock by maybe competing in some of these like invite bowl games.
Yeah, and he also could have just put that out there because he wanted to put a message out there just in case it doesn't go his way. You never know what all happens there. But I think it's one of those things that, like you said, he probably didn't get the news he wanted to, or at least doesn't feel like it's trending that way. And so he's just decided to declare. Hopefully he gets drafted. He's been one of my favorite players. Again, I've talked about him a lot this season, just because I think he's a really good player, and the defense, fallen at the end of the year, didn't do him any favors because people are just going to think he's a good player on a bad defense. But he was playing really good football all season long. He was one of the few that played good football season long. The thing that could hurt him is he's listed at 5'10" for a safety. That's a little bit of on the undersize. So it's probably going to come down to how well does he cover? Because if you 5'10" and you can cover, you can play some safety, you can play some nickel. They can kind of play you around on the field. And so, I hope he gets drafted. It'll probably be a later pick, but even if he's not drafted, we've seen a ton of players, go to a camp, make a name for themselves on special teams to start, which I think he could really do, and then earn that trust and build up and be a guy that actually plays on the main roster quite a bit.
Yeah, I think just something about the way he plays. I think he has one of those, the way he came up from Old Dominion to the SEC, played well. I think there's going to be some team, probably a defensive back coach or somewhere, that's just kind of fall in love with the way he plays and is going to push for him to be like a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. Now, a lot of that's also going to come down to testing. Like, he's listed at 5'10", I think around 190-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. If he goes there and he's actually 5'8", 5'9", 160, it's not going to matter what he tests at. He's probably going to be an undrafted free agent. But I mean, if he goes out there at 5'10" and runs a 4.4 with the great vertical, he's going to get drafted. And
Real quick, we got some breaking news.
All right.
Yeah. It's fun when that heads when we're on a podcast. According to Pete Thamel, Colorado offensive tackle Jordan Seaton is on a visit to Mississippi State right now. That's a massive one right there. And in the deal, it mentions that Phil Lodeholt was his coach for 1 year at Colorado, and he's very close to Phil Lodeholt. He was also initially on Brent Venable's staff at Oklahoma. Lodeholt was playing a big part in recruiting him to Oklahoma. Then obviously went to Colorado, and Seaton was at Colorado. And, Seaton obviously is a former 5-star. He was the number 1 ranked tackle in his class. He was second team all Big 12. The offensive line as a whole wasn't very good, but he's been very good. A lot of projections have him as the top offensive lineman in next year's class. And all the big schools are mentioned for him: Texas, Oregon, Miami, all these schools. And so I never heard Mississippi State mentioned, and for them to get him on campus, wow. I mean, that's massive.
So when we did our podcast earlier this week where we talked about names we wanted to I didn't want to mention him because I didn't want to jinx it, but part of the Lodeholt connection did make me think maybe it's a real possibility, but I didn't want to bring it up. But now I wish I had, because I would have looked really smart. But
I mean, that changes your offensive line completely. Now, I don't want people to get their hopes up. I would not expect him to commit to Mississippi State. Just some of the stuff I've heard about what he's looking for. I just don't think Mississippi State can get now. They if they can get him, if he says I will come if you can get me this, they better do it. Because that guy can make life so much easier for Camario Taylor next year.
And the rest of your offensive line, because he's like I've talked about, if you have an anchor at left tackle, that's going to change everything, because now all of a sudden you feel good about 3 of the 5 spots, and one of them being the most important one. So if you can somehow get him in, if his relationship with Lodeholt is strong enough that if you can get in the ballpark, he'll commit, you have to call everyone you know that has. You got to call Dak and see if he's got $1 million laying around.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I mean, you got to call everybody.
Yeah, you got to do some work. All right, we got to take a break. We'll talk about more of this out on the other side of the break, but we got to preview what's coming up next weekend in Starkville. That's coming up next. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So next up in Starkville, I was going to go basketball, but I'm going to go with this Jordan Seaton stuff just because that's what you got to look forward to over the weekend. Does he commit? Does he take his other visits, which I expect him to, just a heads up. But how does this visit happen? Like, how well does it go? Like that's the thing I'm keeping my eye on now.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And other news, Zack Owens has just entered the transfer portal.
Okay.
So bad news.
Bad news. So you got good news and bad news because Owens was probably going to be one of your starters next year.
Yeah, that was the one guy I felt good about. Yeah, he as according to what I just read 8 minutes ago, he has entered the transfer portal. So
yeah. Now, with that being said, they have brought in a ton of offensive linemen in the last couple of weeks and power 4 guys, not just like D5 guys.
And also, the portal closes while you're listening to this. Today is the last day that people hear. So, I mean, entering this late, there might be a chance he's back just because he might not be able to find a landing spot.
Could be a chance he's back. Could be maybe he knows something. Or, was this and we've seen this happen. And again, don't get your hopes up. I'm not saying it is. But where they've had to cut a guy to get his money so they can go spend it on a guy like Jordan Seaton. Like, you never know what is all happening. But also, I do want to mention the men's team is in action against Ole Miss this weekend. That's on Saturday night. That's obviously a big one. They were up double digits on Alabama in the first half. Were absolutely balling. And then they completely collapsed and lost by double digits. And Alabama had several players out, and it was a really disappointing end to that game. But, they've lost 2 straight now against Kentucky and Alabama. Alabama's, again, ranked team. Kentucky's not. And so you need to get back on track. I said during the stretch they need to have, 2 or 3 losses. Well, they've already got the 2.
They got their 2. So they're
and they already have they still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games left on this stretch.
Yeah.
One of those games is against a top 10 team. So they got to get back on track.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the end of the transfer portal, that game against Ole Miss is obviously what I'm watching both for. This team needs to right the ship. If they don't right the ship this weekend, and then Wednesday they have A&M, which is a game that is definitely winnable. Right. If you lose both of those, this basketball season is pretty much done at that point, barring a magical run in the SEC tournament. So it's time to right the ship there. I mean, that's what I'm watching outside of this transfer portal, which all of a sudden got a whole lot crazier. I thought we were kind of wrapping up the madness and just got switched into overdrive.
Never over. And we do want to let you know, again, we said this earlier this week, while Friday, today is the last day of the transfer portal, you can still hear their announcements in the next couple days, just because it does sometimes take up to, I believe, 72 hours to process that. Because they still have their form in by today.
They still use fax machines with the NCAA.
Right. So they can have their form in today, and you might not know about till Monday or Tuesday. So just heads up, if you see that and you're like, hey, I thought it was over, that would be why. But all right, thanks for tuning in today to Locked On Mississippi State. On Monday's show, we'll recap this whole weekend, including the Jordan Seaton visit. So make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Mississippi State so you get all the latest episodes. Remember, we're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. If you never missed an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Mississippi State ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to the custom link in the show notes to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Football. For Locked On Mississippi State, I'm Jaron. That's Landon. Until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.